a great honor to be here. So this paper, it comes from my thesis at the MA History of Design program at the Royal College of Art and the Victoria and Albert Museum. What inspired me to write this was my observation in my undergraduate studies in interior architecture in India and sort of my anger with the media representation of the star architect when I always felt that, and it's a fact that architectural production is a collaborative and a very social process. So I wondered if there could be a way to, write this and what we could do. So I sort of started on wrote this. My dissertation is originally titled Reassessing Architectural Practice in Post-Liberalized India, Case of Mumbai-based SJK Architects, and explores a way to understand how the dynamics of gender play out in the day-to-day operations of women-led architecture practices in India and its relation to the changes that occurred in India after economic liberalization in 1991. My primary resources were magazines and media publications, two accounts on women architects in India, and I also did an interview with two design directors of the practice. Since I wrote it during the COVID pandemic, I couldn't personally visit them. Next slide, please. Thank you. So SJK Architects is a Mumbai-based studio practice founded by Shimol Javeri Kadri in 1990. In the same year, India was at the cusp of a major economic change with the opening up of the markets after following a socialist model of development for nearly 40 years post-independence. This led to an increase in foreign and private investments, which allowed Indian businesses to cross borders and businesses from abroad to come to India. This also meant the rise of entrepreneurs, many of them being women as well. Among such women entrepreneurs is Shimol Javeri Kadri. Today, SJK Architects is one of the most well-known architectural practices in India. It has also been widely profiled by both the professional and popular media. Though women architects in India are now beginning to be recognized and have a diverse portfolio ranging from institutions, corporate offices to conservation projects, SJK Architects is still one of the few women-led practices to have received international recognition. This is a major shift from about 40 years ago when its founder was in her undergraduate days, and she recalls that she heard just the name of one female architect when talking about large scale and public architecture. Next slide, please. So SJK Architects is set up as a typical mid-sized studio architecture practice with about 20 people. The principal architect and the design directors are the main decision makers who are supported by the senior architects and the junior architects, interior designers, technical staff, and interns. The organizational structure of SJK Architects, it reflects the apprenticeship model followed by several mid-sized architecture studios in India, wherein the accountability lies with the principal architect, in this case, Javeri Kadri. The firm's clients include entrepreneurs, local government institutions, and established brands. They also have a wide network of external collaborators. And for the firm, this collaboration is crucial to design and execution. So how did gender come into play? So when setting up SJK Architects, it inadvertently became a way to do things differently. And this emerged through two of Javeri Kadri's choices. First was from her choice to not take residential interior decoration projects, quote unquote decoration, when she began her practice in a home office in fear of being stereotyped. This is because architecture practice in India, especially for women practitioners, even today, is often stereotyped as residential innovation or interior decoration. This especially holds true for independent architects just starting out their practices. Second was to her choice of hiring only women for a long time, because she did this because she worked out of her bedroom, and initially she worked out of her bedroom and felt more comfortable having them in her home. And she continued to hire only women even after relocating to her office in central Mumbai. It was only recently that the first male architect joined the firm, and most of the studio's employees are women, including its three design directors. This is something which we saw in the previous picture as well. So, in terms of, I missed saying this before, but when I was doing my dissertation, I actually mapped out SJK architects in terms of situating it within the practices within architecture practice in India and what its networks are. I also looked at, in looking at networks, I looked at who are the contractors that they are working with, and that revealed an interesting observation. So generally, like contractors are hired through the process of tendering, and like firms work with the same contractors, but in this case, they have a separate set of contractors for each project, and they hire them through the process of tendering. So this is not like the usual approach where the lowest bidder gets the contract. And the design directors mentioned in the interview that they choose their contractors on the basis of their understanding and attitudes towards the project. While it is not clear if gender plays a role here, but this is a unique and empathetic way of working. Next slide, please. Despite the challenges posed by gender in setting up the practice, the studio has had an advantage due to its location in a well-connected neighborhood of Mumbai. The city is a center for art, culture, and architecture, and is India's financial capital. It is also the birthplace of the modern architectural profession in India. And the aspect of location intersects with the question of gender because it makes available more mainstream opportunities and allows a practitioner to have a stronger network in proximity. This is also reflected through the network of SJK Architects clients, most of whom are based in Mumbai, the education of its employees in the institutions of Mumbai, and the presence of major media houses in the city, many of whom have profiled the practice. Another factor which worked out well for SJK Architects is the collaboration with two of their women clients who are also entrepreneurs and found success with India's economic liberalization. One of them is Sunita Namjoshi, who is the founder of the textile business Energy Lifestyle. So actually came to Kadri to build her office due to a bad experience with a male architect who refused to listen to her. Namdoshi is one of the early clients of the studio, and they've done over a dozen projects with them now. So there's a very interesting project here. The second image, it's a factory in a small town in India, and it's basically a work. This is where, as part of a textile business, the products are packaged and shipped. So due to the design intervention, the client wanted the client's brief to the to SJK Architects was to make a space which is comfortable to the workers, and they managed to do that, and it actually increased the production twofold. And what emerges, like in discussing, and there's another collaboration with Sneha I, who's the founder of an ad agency, um, Nirvana Films, and she also gave a very qualitative brief of wanting the architects to experiment. And like for example, like one instance which shows her openness is that she was willing to compromise a bit on security because she wanted the space to be open and to be a community center in the evening. And in discussing these collaborations, what emerged is a sense of collaboration, like connectedness and experimentation. What also emerges is a sense of peer-to-peer support because in case of Namdoshi and Javeri Kadri, they began their businesses at a similar time, and research also shows that this peer-to-peer support is very important in facilitating the success of women entrepreneurs. So what resonated throughout, like in the process of writing, is that SJK Architects' approach to the question of gender was based more on humanism than feminism. This I'm still like trying to articulate better, but also that it is rooted in its implementation in day-to-day operations, and it is also reflective of the founder Javeri Qadri's own belief. And often discussions on gender and design center on declining numbers of women on the field despite the high numbers of enrollment. Other discussions I found are focused on a more biographical approach of women architects. And but this this particular project, by focusing on this aspect of practice and networks in architecture practice, it highlights how gender responds to operational conditions of practice, design process, and architect-client relations. And maybe it's a new way to it could be a new way to discuss architecture practice, one which reflects its inherent collaboration. Thank you.